Thank you for joining and welcome to our information session hosted by Riverside, the Miami County Board of Developmental Disabilities. My name is Melissa Nichols. I'm the Community Awareness and Opportunities Director here. We host these sessions quarterly throughout the year, and the topic of Social Security is one of those that we like to keep in a regular rotation to provide some information and make sure that people have a contact name and information as well so that they can reach out throughout the year. I'm going to share a few housekeeping items just so people are, if you're not familiar with Zoom, just so we all know what's expected and how to use the technology. This is a 1-hour presentation. Theresa and Kelly have power packed some slides together for you. So there will be 1 hour of presentation, and we've also allowed for 30 minutes of question and answers at the end. So, please stick around with questions if you're able to do that. If you could please mute yourselves during the presentation to prevent any noise from interfering and causing disruption. If you don't know how to do that, it should be in the bottom left corner of your screen. If you hover your mouse over that area, it should give you the option to mute. And that will just make sure that we're focused on hearing the voices of our speakers tonight. Last but not least, we are recording this session. There were several parents and guardians who were unable to attend this evening. So we do have the session set to record, and that way we can save it and post it on our website and our Facebook page for others to view later. So with that, I would like to introduce our guest speakers tonight. We have Theresa Busher of the Dayton office in Social Security, as well as Kelly Draggoo from our Cincinnati office. And they have, as I said, prepared a lot of information for you. I'm going to stop talking now and turn it over to them.
Hi, hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us. Some of you I know I've kind of met at least virtually and others in person over the years, because before COVID times when we could travel, I would go up sometimes and have talked to some of you face to face over the years, and it has always been a pleasure. We're very fortunate, I feel, in Miami County to have such an amazing staff as you guys are at Riverside. You have in Riverside, because they are the real deal and wonderful colleagues. So we always laugh, though, that we do live dangerously with all of you families, because Kelly and I give you our emails. Yeah, we're crazy, we know. But we also want you to have a wingman. And that's what Kelly and I are. We're public affairs specialists, so we are educators. We're not in the operational mix. So we're not the ones that are going to be able to push the button for your claim. We cannot get on the phone and do that claim with your 18-year-old or do an appeal with you. But we can assist when things are not going right. And, we're going to throw a lot at you this evening. And there will probably be some offline questions that you'll have. And you are going to be able to have a chance to ask those questions today. But like you said, Melissa, some people are going to have to jump off. Others may just not feel comfortable necessarily asking their questions. So that's why we want you to have our information. And Melissa, I think you've got a copy of the PowerPoint also. If any of you want the slides afterwards, those are available to you also. So I'm very happy to have my friend and colleague Kelly Draggoo. And even though the two of us are based in southwestern Ohio, we actually cover all of Columbus and central Ohio. So we kind of have the whole swath of Ohio plus a little bit of Indiana. And that's why, again, we can't meet with you individually, but we do want you to know you have us as resources for information. And if you need us, just give us, always a few days to get back with you in terms of email. Kelly's going to kick us off here in a minute with our agenda. And we're each going to kind of monitor the chat function for the other as we're talking. But we do first want to start off by always giving our little disclaimer that we are here in April 2021. It doesn't feel like April because it snows. And what in the world, right? But we are in April 2021. And so all the information we're going to cover today, of course, is time sensitive in terms of being accurate as of today. If you're viewing this at a later time or date, just keep in mind it was April 2021 when we talked about this. And of course, we don't endorse one group or organization over another. We love all. We always laugh with Social Security, right? So Kelly is going to go over our agenda here in a minute, but before she goes ahead and kind of moves on, try to maybe hold your questions till the end. And we know that you have a lot of questions, but we're building on things in this presentation. And so jumping ahead to like talking about appeals when we haven't quite made it yet into just the application process, we're going to get there. So you may want to just kick back, relax, kind of exhale and intake, and then let it fly once we kind of go into the question period. And if you have something that you're really burning with, go ahead and type it in there, right? But other than that, maybe just kind of kick back and sit back and listen. Kel, did I miss anything on our housekeeping stuff?
No, I think you got it all.
All right.
Hopefully you can see my screen. Hopefully I'm sharing that.
It looks great.
Okay. So I am, as the host of, because I'm presenting right now, I'm also letting people into the meeting that are coming in late. So if you get any messages telling me to fix that, just yell at me. I also pressed record, Melissa, so it should be recording at this point. I'm hoping. Okay, so good evening, everyone. I'm Kelly Draggoo. Here's our agenda for tonight. We're going to first show you about contacting Social Security and using your My Social Security account. Hopefully you all have one, but if not, I'm going to tell you all the reasons why you should. And then we're also going to go into all of the basic eligibility factors between SSI and SSDI. So they're two totally different programs, and we'll explain the differences of those and how you can be eligible for each one. And then we'll talk a little bit about how to apply and appealing if you're denied. And then what happens once you're approved for benefits, what's the process involved at that point. So without further ado, when you reach out to contact Social Security, you can call us either locally or at our national 1-800 number. The 1-800 number is 772-1213, which is what you see on the screen. Representatives answer that phone line between 8 and 5:30 p.m. Monday through Friday, or you can call that phone number any time of day and use the automated phone services. If you'd rather talk to somebody locally, you can look up your local office telephone number, go to socialsecurity.gov/locator, or / I should say, locator. That is going to give you the local office telephone number, fax number, and the address. Now, our offices still have not reopened to any in-person services. So please do not go to a local Social Security office. There's no one there to let you in. But we are working remotely, answering phone calls between 9 a.m. and 4 p.m. Monday through Friday. Social Security has established a special web page on our website called www.socialsecurity.gov/coronavirus. So if you go to that site, you can actually look up up-to-date information about certain things like how to replace a Social Security card, whether or not you might qualify for one of our special emergency dire need in-office appointments. We're only doing very few and far between. Most things are done over the phone or the internet today. You can also see temporary policy that's in place during the pandemic. You can subscribe to this, and that way you can get updates via your email every time Social Security updates that web page. So just go on to socialsecurity.gov/coronavirus. Something else we want to remind you of is continuing to be aware of suspicious Social Security scam calls. We do call people, but normally we only call people that are doing business with Social Security. So if you're not in the middle of any kind of business with us, we're not going to be calling you. So please be very aware of that. Now, we may call some people we're not doing business with, like maybe we need to verify something about somebody, or perhaps somebody told us to call you on their behalf, something like that. But we will never just call you out of the blue, mostly, or likely to ever tell you that you've been overpaid or something like that. When we have an adverse action, you get a letter in the mail giving you appeal rights. So we will never just call you and tell you these adverse action things. We will never call you and threaten you with arrest or other legal action if you don't provide requested information to us. And we will never, ever suspend your Social Security number. That's not something we do, ever. We do not use robots to call you. So if you ever get a robocall, hang up. It is not us. If you ever get, some kind of computerized call like that at all, telling you, you're in trouble and you better press 1, again, it's false. It's a scam. And real government officials will never require payment from you over the phone with a retail gift card or internet currency or anything like that. So never, ever fall for that scam of where, you're going to go to jail or be in a lot of trouble if you don't go to Target and buy gift cards. That is a scam. To report fraud, if you ever fall victim to it, make sure that you reach out to our Office of Inspector General and report that. We've given you the website there. All right, let's talk about your My Social Security account. Hopefully, most of you on the line have one of these. This is kind of your private portal into your information with Social Security. If you haven't created an account yet, we want you to consider doing that. You need to have a valid email address. Husband and wife can use the same email address. You need to have a Social Security number. You need to have a U.S. mailing address. You need to be at least 18. So this means children cannot have a My Social Security account. So parents, I'm going to say that again, your kids cannot have one. You cannot create one for them either. They have to be at least 18, and everyone has to create their own account at all times. If you do not get any benefits from Social Security, you might wonder, why do you need one of these? One important thing is that you can view your online Social Security statement and your earnings record. We advise at least looking at that once a year to be sure that the information is accurate. That's that green and white statement you used to get in the mail around your birthday telling you what your benefits would be in the future. So you want to take a look at that. Be sure that all the earnings being reported to you on it are correct, because those are what are calculating your future benefit estimates. Something new is that with your My Social Security account, you can see your disability medical file information right there in the account. So you can see what kind of info we are gathering as we are making a decision for your claim. You can order a replacement Social Security card online now. This is brand new as of last year, so you don't have to go into an office anymore to replace your Social Security card. You can do it all on the internet. And if you're thinking about retiring, you can look at the Plan and Prepare workspace. It has a fabulous interactive calculator, including a spouse calculator that lets you play around with different what-if scenarios and determine what your benefits will be in the future. Really great tool for those of you thinking about retirement. If you are a representative payee for a beneficiary of Social Security, you use your own My Social Security account to go in and do business for the person you are the representative payee for. So mom and dads, if your child gets benefits and you are their representative payee, you do not need your child to have their own My Social Security account. You will just use your own. And then you can go in and do all these different things for them, like report their monthly wages to us, get proof of their income, update direct deposit, and complete their annual accounting if it's necessary. So again, they don't have to have their own account, because you can do it all for them through your account. Now, once you do get Social Security benefits, you can use your My Social Security account to do a lot of other things you would think that you can do. Get proof of your income, update your address, your phone number, and your direct deposit. Replace your Social Security card or Medicare card, or even get a new 1099 if you need to. Something new just last year is that you can select representative payees for the future for you. What this is it's called Advanced Designation of Representative Payee Request. You can tell us who you might want us to reach out to become your representative payee, which is basically like your power of attorney, if you will. Totally different language, but in that thought process, a trustee, somebody that can do business for you at Social Security should that need arise down the line. So using your My Social Security account is really important. Please think about creating one so that you can do some business online. And the fact that our offices aren't open to in-public services right now won't be too much of an impact for you. All right, let's talk about the differences between our two disability programs. So there are two different programs Social Security pays benefits through for disability. There is the Title II program and the Title 16 program. Title II of the Social Security Act is SSDI, the blue bubble you see on your screen. SSDI stands for Social Security Disability Insurance, and those who are eligible for Title II collect Medicare one day in the future as well. This is the disability program where you work, your wages are taxed, you basically quote unquote pay into the Social Security system, and you become eligible one day for disability benefits or retirement benefits and Medicare. On the flip side, though, the red bubble that you see is Title 16 of the Social Security Act. That is SSI. It's Supplemental Security Income. Now, this is a total 180 from the SSDI program. This program is more of a needs-based program, a welfare-like program for people with limited income, limited resources, and they live in certain living arrangements that we allow in order for them to get a payment for SSI. So this is very much like somebody getting Medicaid or food stamps. These are needs-based, it's a needs-based program. So when somebody gets SSI, we do a data share with Job and Family Services. We let them know that somebody's been approved and they get Medicaid, not Medicare, because Medicare, again, is one where you've paid tax on your earnings and you become eligible for that. I need to share with you Social Security's definition of disability. This is very important because ours is different from other agencies. A medical condition or a combination of impairments that prevents substantial gainful activity for at least a year, or it's expected to result in death. This means there's no partial disability or temporary disability. You have a condition that's going to last at least a year or result in death. And that condition is going to prevent you from working and earning a substantial gainful amount of money, or SGA. So SGA is a monetary amount that we use at Social Security to determine whether to consider someone who is working, whether we consider their work substantial and gainful. So again, if they are able to work and earn a substantial gainful living, then they will not be found to be disabled. The monetary amount this year is $1,310 or more in gross earnings each month. So it's a very low amount. If somebody is working, they have to be earning pretty low amount of money each month in order for us to still consider a possible disability. Now, if someone's condition is blindness, they can make a little bit more, $2,190 a month in 2021. Those numbers change every year, FYI. Everybody that's 18 or older is under this definition. So even if they are your child and they're still in high school, they are still, or they are considered an adult once they are age 18. And as an adult, they have to follow our adult rules at Social Security. And one of those rules is that they qualify under this definition, which is different than a child's definition of disability. So the definition for disability for a child who is somebody that's under 18 is that they have severe and marked limitations in at least 2 domains of functioning when they are compared to other children of their same age that don't have impairments. So when we talk about domains of functioning, we mean, do they have severe and marked limitations in things like acquiring and using information, attending or completing a task, interacting or relating with others, moving about and manipulating objects, caring for themselves. So they have to have marked and limited, severe and marked limitations in at least 2 of those. So we're not looking at can they work and earn a substantial gainful living. We're looking at do they have severe and marked limitations in 2 of those domains. If a child receives disability benefits and then they turn the age of 18, we have to do a new medical decision because, again, they've turned that magical number of age 18. They are now an adult. Even if nothing's changed, they still live in your home. They're still your child. You know, for as long as they live, they're your baby. But once they're 18, they are an adult under our rules, and we have to make decisions based on adult rules. So let's just do a quick comparison. I'm going to turn it over to Theresa, and she's going to go into depth about both of these programs for you to help it all make sense. So let's look at the left column first, SSDI, Social Security Disability Insurance, also known as SSD or regular disability. Some people even call it RSDI. That stands for Retirement Survivor Disability Insurance. Anybody who gets that benefit gets paid on the 3rd of the month or on a Wednesday. It's according to someone's date of birth. And their dependents could get benefits from them. So that means if a husband is disabled, his wife might get a benefit. Or if a father is disabled, his children may get a benefit. Payments that come from an SSDI benefit are based on that person's earnings. So everybody has a different amount of SSDI benefit. It's based on how old you were when you were found to be disabled, how much work you had before that point, how much you earned, etc. So it's going to fluctuate. It's an insurance that you earn when you work. So again, you have to work. Your earnings are taxed by the FICA tax, which is the Social Security Trust Fund tax. And so your wages are taxed. You earn an insurance through work. The benefit amount that you get is not based on other income you have or other resources that you have or where you live. And we also don't really care about anything about your spouse. Your spouse could be working and earning a lot of money. We don't care. That doesn't affect your disability insurance eligibility. And again, after 24 months, you are potentially eligible for this Medicare. Whether or not you take it or not is your choice, but you are eligible for Medicare. So that may be a whole lot younger than age 65, which is what we think for Medicare for most people. And then the right column, SSI, Supplemental Security Income. Anybody who gets SSI gets paid on the 1st of the month. So if there's ever a question about what kind of benefit do I get, if you're paid on the 1st, it's SSI. We don't pay any benefits to your dependents. So the only person that's eligible for SSI is the one person found to be disabled. That's it. SSI payments are not based on any work history. This is why children get SSI. Nobody has to have ever worked a day in their life to get SSI. So there is no insured status like there is with SSDI. But it is based on income and resources. So that next column, the next column is needs-based public assistance program that does not require a person to have a work history. Payment and eligibility is based on having limited income, resources, and where they live. So there are certain places where people live where we cannot pay you SSI. Theresa will tell you all about that in just a few minutes. And again, once you are awarded SSI, it automatically leads to Medicare. We have a data share with Job and Family Services in Ohio. We let them know you've been approved and your Medicare starts right up. You no longer have to go file an extra separate application for that. Theresa, I'm going to make you the host so that you can now share your screen.
Let's see if we can
bear with us here a second. Go ahead, Theresa.
Okay. All right. Let's see if we can get that going. Oh, shoot.
It's coming.
It's coming, right? We're going to be waiting. Okay, there we go. That looks good, guys. All right. Let's talk SSI first. I want you guys to think about this two little globes, like Kelly said, and I want you to really compartmentalize because SSI and SSD are very different, right? You've heard us say that, and we're going to break down what we're screening for when we look for each program. Okay, so we're going to take SSI first. All right. You just heard us say that SSI benefits are paid on the 1st of the month. So that's going to go directly into the bank or into the credit union. SSI doesn't have retroactivity. So benefits are only paid back to the application month. And that's really important because as professionals and as some of you as parents, family members, etc., we need you to understand that if you just wait, once your child say 18 and you decide, well, I'm not going to go ahead and file for anything until my child's 20, you're not going to be able to take it back to 18. There is no retroactivity. You can't just go back in time and say, yeah, I should have filed, but I didn't. Now, if you make an appointment today, you may not get an appointment with us until June on the phone, but it would be as if you filed today, or if you start things online, today would be held as your day of filing. All right. So if you're approved, it would go back to today, your filing date. but we couldn't take it back beyond your point of contact, let's put it that way, with Social Security. And the first month of eligibility is always a no payment month. Okay, so again, pretend that I called today and made an appointment for my child to file for SSI. Even if I don't get that appointment, let's say again until June, and then I get approved. The first month of SSI would be for me going back to April. April is my no payment month, but other months would be paid. So SSI literally is a month by month payment. And if there's a potential for benefits, we want you to get in the door with us, all right, to protect you, because again, we can't take it back. So the maximum benefit rate with SSI, remember it's based on need, is $794 per month per person. We don't set that in Ohio, that's a federal rate. And you just heard Kelly say, and I'm going to say it again, I want you to think of SSI based on three things, okay, like a three-legged stool: income, resources, living situation. And we screen every adult, and of course, if you're filing for a child, for all of these: income, resources, living situation. So let's look at income first, all right? For SSI, when we talk about income, of course, you think about earned income first, our work, okay? So if a child is under 18 and living with a parent, we're going to ask a parent questions about income, wages, self-employment, etc. When a child is 18 or above, like Kelly said, I don't care if they're in school till they're 22. I don't care if they're living with you or not. They're an adult at 18. Parental income is not in the mix anymore. Then we're just looking at the 18-year-old's earned income, work, self-employment, even if there's community supported employment. It's not as common as it used to be, but like enclave type employment, that's still work, and we have to know about it. We're also going to ask about unearned income. So that's other types of Social Security benefits. So if like a parent, if it's a child under 18, if parents are getting retirement, we have to know about that. Veterans benefits, unemployment, that's a form of unearned income. Any kinds of pensions, or, think about any other cash flowing into a home, we've got to know about that, including if people are giving a family money and we're saying we're covering all their bills for them. We got to know about it with SSI. Okay. So again, we will have to ask those questions about income to mom and dad, and that includes a step parent if they're in the home, all the way through the age of 18. Remember, that's the magical age where parental income stops counting. Parental income, though, I should back up and say it doesn't count if the parents aren't in the home. Okay. So if I'm raising my nephew, I'm his custodian, let's say, and he's in my home, his mother and father are not in the home, then their income doesn't count. So non-parental income, grandparent income, custodial income is not in the SSI mix. Okay. But if my nephew's in the home and my brother, his father's in the home, then my brother's income counts as a parent, right? But again, no parents in the home, their income doesn't count. Or let's say I'm filing for my child and I separate from her father. Let's say we separate, his income does not count anymore. Now, if he's paying me support, child support, that's going to count as income, right? But parental income does not count when that parent isn't in the house. Okay. So the big question, right, what we have for parents is like, well, how much income can I have? You guys, there isn't a very cookie cutter, easy answer for us to give you, because it depends. Is there one parent in the home? Are there two parents in the home? Are there other children in the home? How many other children are in the home? So if you have not had any type of screening for a child and you think that child may qualify, then I want you to go and make an appointment with us. Even so, if you're pretty sure and you think, I don't think we're going to qualify, we understand, but you can use our benefit screening tool. That's on our SSI page. And it asks you to put in estimates of your parental income, how many other kids are in the house, is there child support coming in, etc. And that'll at least give you an idea. All right. If it says you might be eligible, then for sure we want you to pursue it. Right. And there's also at this link that's in your slides. Again, if you want your slides, you can get those through Riverside and through Melissa, but there is a good link to our Understanding SSI brochure. It's a whole big publication that goes through information, including income information for parents. But again, if you've never gone through this process of us saying yay or nay with your income, I would always, and your child's under 18, I would always rather you make an appointment. Why not? Make a phone appointment and let us screen for you. But guess what? Some of you've already done that. Some of you know you're over income limit as a parent, and you're probably going to continue to be, and your child's going to become eligible when the child is 18, right? Now, remember, three-legged stool: income, resources, living arrangements. So with SSI, we have to ask what resources or assets the child has and parents have if under 18. Once you hit 18, it's only the child's, well, now adults, resources that we're looking at. So think about assets for us are usually cash assets. Okay, I'm looking at this column over here, bank accounts, right? Bank accounts and stocks, bonds, CDs, right? A 401k if a person had it set up in their own name. Now, parents, if your child is under 18, yes, we're going to look at your bank accounts and stocks and bonds too. Now, 401ks would only be outside of your workplace, okay? Most of us have our 401ks through our employment, and no, we're not expecting you to cash out. We don't count the 401k that you've got at your job. Think of it more like if you left another employer and you have almost like an IRA. If you have a standing IRA, a Roth, or a 401k outside of your employment, that would count as a resource that you could liquidate. We always exclude a vehicle. So if your 18-year-old has one car, that's not a problem. If your 18-year-old has 5 cars, then we have to start looking at well, how much are the cash value of each of those cars, okay? Because look at our limit down here. Total resource limit, $2,000, all right, for an individual. If it's a couple, $3,000. Now, the only life insurance, honestly, that we're looking at is if you could cash in a policy. A term life policy is not a resource for us. And we also, you know, of course, we look at property that you would have outside of where you're, you know, living. So if I've got a lake house, that we count potentially as property, right? But we don't count the home where you're living. We don't count a car, 1 car, burial plots, and we don't count stable accounts. All right. Every state actually has an ABLE account. Achieving Better Life Experience. In Ohio, ours is through the state treasurer's office, so we call them stable accounts. And this has been a game changer. And I know that Riverside has offered information about stable accounts to you guys as parents, but remember, you can go on their website also. And we love our stable account folks. They're amazing. And parents, this is huge because you can set up a stable account for your child, and we exclude it as a resource up to 100K total for SSI. So back in the day, when I started going up to Riverside talking to staff, I'd say, you know, parents cannot have more than $2,000 saved up when that child turns 18, right? You have to have assets below 2,000. And the parents would be all willy-nilly trying to get rid of that asset. And it was sad because you don't want to have to spend that money on things that you may not need at that moment, but you may need down the road. Now with the stable account, if say your child had $4,000 in graduation money, you could put that in a stable account and save it for their needs down the road. And it doesn't count towards that $2,000 limit. So it's a very important thing for you to know about as parents. It is not, again, through Social Security. Each state has their own administrators. Again, ours are administrators, ours are through state treasurer's office, but it's the same in any state that we will exclude that. And it is a huge help for you as parents in trying to save some money for your kids and maintain SSI eligibility. So the third part of our 3-legged stool living arrangements is that anybody getting SSI is going to have to go through some questions about who's in the household, okay? Whether they're a child or an adult. So we're going to say, whose house are you living at? Okay, even if your child is 18, we're going to say, are you living with parents? Are you living with siblings? And we're going to ask if this child is contributing at age 18 plus to mortgage, rent, bills. And there could be a reduction in SSI if that individual is not contributing to household expenses and bills. So more on that here in a minute. Okay, we're seeing if a person is living in a group setting, like an assisted living facility, a group care setting, all forms of institutional setting. Then it depends. I mean, you can't get SSI while you're incarcerated. I mean, you guys get that. But if a person is in a long-term care skilled medical facility, say like the ICFs in the developmental disability world, where you're getting like skilled nursing home type extended care, that's different than assisted living or community living. So in that particular setting, where you're in an actual institutional care setting, again, not supported housing, like independent living, you know, stuff, then SSI is limited to only a $30 personal need pass through. All right, in that medical. But other than that, again, a group home is not an ICF and full SSI is payable there. Okay. So I think I'm painting a picture for you that everybody's going to be looked at for SSI, whether you're under 18 or over 18, we're going to screen for income, resources, etc. Okay. So let's talk now about the other, remember the other globe, SSD. Because we're always screening for SSD for all adults also. So SSD, also known as SSDI, stands for Social Security Disability or Social Security Disability Insurance. Okay, and as Kelly pointed out when she went through that chart with you, right? SSI need, SSD is like retirement. It is based on work. You become insured for SSD by contributing to payroll taxes. So it's like retirement in that you are going to get a benefit based on that work. Now you have to earn a minimum of work to qualify for a benefit. That makes sense, I think. And it is possible that dependents can draw from a parent's record. So again, we'll talk about that here in a minute. Okay, so how much work do you need to qualify for SSD? We just want to throw this at you because not all 18-year-olds qualify for SSD, but some do. And some of your children will continue to work in their young 20s, et cetera, or throughout their life and qualify as they start working in the community or through sheltered employment, et cetera. So let's take a look for 2021. One credit, now that's a monetary amount that you earn in by paying Social Security taxes, okay? One credit is $14.70 in gross wages, and you can earn up to 4 credits in a year, and that's $5,880. So this is all happening behind the scenes that you earn credits. You're not going to see these on your pay stubs at work. But let's say that I've earned, 15,000 so far with my job this year. Do I have 4 credits? Yes. Once I have earned at least $5,880 this year, I have 1 credit. Maybe I only made, 4,000. Okay, I got 2 credits, right? So again, you can make up to 4 in a year. And so to qualify for a benefit, we're literally just ticking off boxes to see, do you have enough work? Do you have enough of these credits to qualify? Because if you are under 24 years old, you only need 6 of these credits total to get SSD. That's like a year and a half of part-time work. That's it. So a lot of our young kids do qualify for SSD, even with very minimal work. Now, if you're 24 to 31, it's on like a sliding scale where I might need 4 years of work, right? If I'm over 31, I'm going to need 5 years of part-time work. That's 20 credits in the 10 years before I become disabled. Okay. So again, if I become disabled right now in 2021, we're going to look back to 2011, and I have to have at least that minimum $5,000, $6,000 range of work, 5 out of the last 10 years of the last decade. Don't have to be consecutive, but at least those 5 years. So if I stopped working, maybe I just stayed home with the kids or whatever, that's work, we know, but it's not paying into Social Security payroll. So if I'd stopped working back in, say, 2011, I would not qualify for SSD if I become disabled. Okay. So to see if you qualify yourself, you can go into your My Social Security account and we will show you if you qualify for disability, and we'll give you a benefit amount. We'll give you an estimate like the retirement amount Kelly talked about, because it's based on your work. It's an average of the work you had before you became disabled. So your son may only qualify for 300 a month because he's 20 and only worked a few part-time jobs to qualify. So that's why his amount is small, while yours might be 2,300 a month based on your whole lifetime of earnings. All right. So again, use that My Social Security account to determine if you have enough credits and to see what your benefit amount will be. But we're going to screen it on our end too. Okay. So we also, when a person files an SSD application, and we're going to have everybody 18 and over do that. And Kelly's going to go through with a step-by-step how we're going to have kids and adults file. But with everybody age 18 or over, we're going to ask you to do an adult disability application. And as part of that application, we ask questions about your dependents. Just like if you retire someday, we ask questions about your dependents. So even if my 18-year-old is filing an adult application, we're going to ask, are you married? And you might say, that's kind of crazy. It's my 18-year-old. Well, some 18-year-olds are married. So we're going to ask about spouses and ex-spouses. We're going to ask about children, right? Does this person who's 18 or older have children of their own? Any minor children up to age 18 or 19 and in high school? We're also going to ask a question if you have adult children over the age of 18 who have a disability. So we are screening for dependents when we ask about these questions. Now, again, the one question we're going to ask if you have minor children. That's children 18 to 19 up in through high school. Usually that to be unmarried. And there's no distinction in our Social Security world between your dependents who have or don't have an impairment when they're under the age of 18. So let's say that I, as mom, as Theresa, I am unable to work because I have a disabling condition. I fill out my SSD application. I have 3 kids, let's say, that are under age 18 in high school, whatever. Those children may be able to draw a benefit off my SSD because I'm not able to work anymore and I have minor children. Now, maybe one of my children's on the spectrum, all right, is severe on the spectrum. There's no distinction between my minors. We don't say minor on the spectrum gets more. We just say 3 children, 3 minors, they could each get some benefit off of my record. And benefits, by the way, they don't stop. Not in college, they stop at high school graduation, okay? Or at 19, because some of our kids now go beyond 18, as you know, but they're gonna stop at graduation or 19, whichever one comes first. Now, there's another question we're gonna ask on that SSD application, all right? Or it would be on a retirement application. Okay, do you have minors? You might say yes or no, minor children. Second question, do you have a disabled adult child? And that is a child who's an adult, so they're 18 or older, and they have a disability. And that disability has to have occurred before my child turned 22, or my child remains unmarried, right? They marry, then they're dependents of somebody else. But again, I'm asking this question and ask this question so that my child may draw off my record. So I'm filing for SSD, let's say, and I have a 25-year-old son. Okay, he's not a minor, but he's been on the spectrum and he's been disabled since birth. Would I include that child? Yes. Even if he's living in supportive housing? Yes. Our question asks if you have a child that meets this criteria. So we would say, yes, parents, this is where if you are filing for yourself, you need to mention on your application, if you have a child over the age of 18, it was disabled young before 22, because your children can draw off your record, okay? So if I'm the parent and I'm on SSD, my children could get up to 50%. That's in addition to my benefit. So if my benefit is 1,000, my children could get half of that, which would be 500. If I'm deceased, my children could get up to 75% of my benefit. Now there is a cap called a family maximum. So not everybody's crazy like old Theresa here. I mean, I have 5 kids. So not all of them would draw 50% of my benefit if they were all minors, okay? They would each draw what's called a family maximum cap. So that's about 150% of my benefit. I get my own benefit, then they'd split the pot, all right, of what they can be eligible for as minor kids. So how are we getting information on children? I mean, it's coming through the parents' application for SSD or retirement or death benefits. So we always say for you as parents, if I have a parent that of a child that has cognitive impairments or DD issues and has been receiving benefits, we would want you to check in with us for potentially retirement at age 62, right? Just to get, because that child may be due a benefit in addition to you. Even if you don't want to take your benefit yet, you might want to find out about it to see how much your child could get. So again, when a child turns 18, right, we were saying that parental income stops counting for SSI. So that's opening up. But another thing to consider is that if a minor child is getting benefits from a parent's record, you just heard me say benefits are going to stop normally at high school graduation, right? So we send this form, we call it the age 18 notice, the 1372, a couple months before a child turns 18. And the form says, hey, if this child's still in high school, complete this information because they can stay on benefits until age 19 or high school graduation. But you're like, well, I'm going to keep my child in high school till they're 22, right? My child has disabilities. I'm going to keep them in there. Well, that's a different thing. Then we want you, the form asks if the child is disabled. Yes, your child is disabled. That's why you're keeping them in high school, right? That's when we say, then you have to contact us because you need to file an adult disability benefit application for that child to continue receiving on your parent record past age 18 or 19. So it's really important, again, that as you come up on that time, you need to be mindful, right, of you're going to file for SSI. And if they were drawing on your, if you were drawing as a parent, your child could draw on you. And Kelly's going to go through some information with us right now as to how you can do that, as to how we want you to file those applications. And Kel, I'm going to make you host. Let's see if we can do this quickly. Oh, I see a tail, Kelly. I just saw a tail run through.
Nobody was supposed to see that.
I think you were the hostess with the mostest. See if you can pull
There we
up.
go. Yeah. Yeah. Unfortunately, my cat just walked across me. I apologize for that. So
All right,
yeah, let's
good.
talk about application and disability determination process. So we'll give you some tips here on what happens with how to apply. And then when you do apply, where do we send your claim and how is that medical decision made? So first things here, if you're applying for somebody that's under the age of 18, we want you to call us because we need to do things over the phone with you. So call our national 1-800 number or your local office and schedule an appointment for the under 18-year-old. Then go online and fill out the the child disability report that you find online. And we've given you the website there. We want you to fill that out in the comfort of your own home if you can. Plus, it's going to save you a lot of time on the phone when you're doing the interview. So this is where we gather all the information from you, like, you know, what are the disabling conditions and who are your doctors and all that sort of thing. Now, if you're applying for somebody that's over the age of 18, we encourage you to do everything online. That's our preferred method right now. Theresa mentioned earlier that you could call us for an appointment and it might be June before we can see you. Some of our offices are small enough that they really don't have any availability until several months out. So if you can file online, that's going to be your best, quickest bet. So go online. We've given you the website there. Just go on to socialsecurity.gov, click on the disability tile and follow the prompts to file a claim. When you're in the claims process online, you're going to come across a question that says, do you intend to file for SSI? We want you to say yes to that unless you know for a fact you're not eligible for SSI. But we would rather you let us make that decision. So let us explore the possibility of SSI. What this means is that the application you're filling out on the internet is actually an application for SSDI benefits. So that's why we want you to fill this out for everybody that's over 18 and then say yes to the SSI question. We will screen eligibility for both programs. Print off confirmation letters that we've taken both claims from you on the internet. Or if you don't want to do things on the internet, again, give us a call. We'll schedule you a telephone interview instead. Just keep in mind, it could be several months before we take the interview. If you are filing for somebody that is your child or somebody else like that, that is at the age of 18, there are some things we want you to know, some nuances. So when you file for somebody that's turning age 18, we are still going to include mom and dad's income and resources for the SSI program when we're determining eligibility for this child until the first moment of the month after the month that they turn 18. So for example, Ryan turns 18 on June the 22nd. We can process his application anytime. But for the month of June, we are going to look at him still as a child the whole month of June and include mom and dad's income and resources in the eligibility mix. The earliest month to apply without mom and dad's income included is July the 1st. So wait until July if you don't want your own income and resources considered. And Ryan doesn't lose any benefits when you do that. It's the way we pay benefits that he really wouldn't have gotten paid anyway. So let's say you would have applied in June. Well, we would have denied him because mom and dad's income would have been too high, he wouldn't have been eligible for June. So then we would have had to take an application in July anyway. And then August becomes the first month that someone is paid. So Theresa talked about that briefly a little while ago, that for SSI, there's not really a waiting period, but there is the 1 month you apply, we don't pay benefits for that month. Just a quick reminder here about those disabled adult child benefits that Theresa talked about. So this is that child who is an adult, so they're over 18 now, but they have that disabling condition that started before they turned age 22. And we've been able to keep them getting this child's benefit beyond the age of 18 or out of high school. So if a child has been receiving benefits on a parent's record and they're turning 18, they're going to get that form, that SSA 1372 form, and that has to be filled out and returned. Otherwise, the child's benefit will end at age 18. No questions asked. Somebody's not muted. If you wouldn't mind muting your phone, please. There's some feedback coming into the call. If a child is disabled, then they should complete the online adult disability application. And again, check yes for SSI. Many kids out there could be disabled and over the age of 18. But there are no disabled adult childhood benefits for that older child until mom and dad have either passed away or are getting a benefit from Social Security, whether it's retirement or disability. So sometimes there are periods where children might be 22 or 25 with a disabling condition, but they can't collect this disabled adult child benefit until a parent dies or goes on benefits from Social Security. So that's an important factor there. You can help your children file for benefits, but once a child is 18, again, we consider them an adult. They have to sign their own application, and they also have to sign their own medical authorizations, unless there's a legal guardian involved. Make sure you let us know right away if there's a legal guardian, because legal guardians trump a lot of things and will save everybody a lot of stressors if we know there's a legal guardian, then we can go that path instead. There doesn't have to be a legal guardian. You don't have to have one to file a claim, but once a child is 18, you'll find that they are an adult and they will have to do many things on their own behalf. And if they're not capable of doing that, somebody may need to be stepping in and becoming their legal guardian. So just let us know if that happens. If the child is not able to sign an application, they can sign it with an X. You can witness it. We have consent forms that we can use to allow us to release information if you're not the legal guardian. So there's the 3288, consent for release of information, and the 1696, which is an appointment of representation. So the consent for release of information, you give it to us every time you want us to tell you something about the applicant. The appointment of representative is something you give us once, and throughout the life of the processing of the claim, we're able to talk to you on behalf of the applicant. So there are a couple forms that we can get from you so that we can talk with you. Otherwise, the age 18-year-old has to be involved in their own application process. Theresa talked about that we will screen everybody, every adult, for both SSI and SSDI benefits. So an applicant could actually get a denial notice really quick from Social Security after they apply. And it might be because we screened for both benefits and they were eligible to apply for one, but not the other. So maybe they don't have any work credits or not enough credits. So we deny them right away and we mail out a letter saying you've been denied. Or maybe they told us right up front that they have thousands of dollars in the bank and it's not in an ABLE account, it's just in US Bank somewhere. Well, then we're going to deny the SSI right away and they'll get a denial notice. So don't freak out if you get a denial notice quickly. Pay attention to the letterhead, see if it's for SSDI or SSI so that you know which benefit has just been denied. The other claim, if you don't get a letter for it, it's gone up to Columbus for a medical decision. We will never make a medical decision for a claimant that doesn't qualify for the benefits based on the non-medical conditions like living arrangements and income and resources and having enough credits. So once you have applied, whether online or over the phone with us, we gather all kinds of information from you in the application, which are things like who are your doctors, what are your medications, what are your medical conditions, what school do you go to, what's your job history look like, all kinds of information. And we gather all of that. We send your claim to Columbus, Ohio, to the Opportunities for Ohioans with Disabilities. Their Division of Disability Determination Services are who makes the decisions for Social Security. So those DDSs are responsible for developing all the medical evidence and making that initial disability determination. Usually they decide a claim within 4 months or 120 days of when you first file a claim. If you provide any information to us with your claim, we're just going to send it up to Columbus. In the field offices, the local Social Security office that you're dealing with when you're applying, we don't make any medical decisions. We are not medical personnel. So we simply gather the information and send it on. Now, what happens up in Columbus is they're going to use all kinds of different resources to make their medical decisions. One of them is called the Blue Book. It's a listing of impairments that they look at it describes conditions that are considered severe enough to prevent someone from working and earning that substantial gainful amount of money. Most of the impairments that are listed in this book are permanent or expected to result in death, which again follows the definition of disability for Social Security. There are other listings in this book where somebody may qualify, but they will have to show evidence of other things that show that the impairment has or will last at least a year or more. So this is not a secret book. You can go look at this online. We've given you the website, or just go onto our website, socialsecurity.gov, and type in Blue Book in the search function. You'll find it. And you can read all about whatever the disabling condition is that you're looking up to see what Social Security is looking at to see if you would qualify or not. You're also going to find information about compassionate allowances. And this is a way that our computer has what's the word I'm looking for? Logarithms or algorithms that detect certain words when you enter them into the computer about what your disabling condition is. And that lets us know that your claim might be what considered for a compassionate allowance medical decision. And this is a quick disability decision. I've seen them as quick as the same day that somebody applies. It's normally a cancer, a terminal illness of some kind, or something somebody will not improve from. In Columbus, the examiner is going to look at the claimant's own medical sources first. They're going to look at all their different testings that they've had and medical exams. They're going to look at functional limitations. So there's lots of reports that we ask for follow-up paperwork. And they're also going to look at previous work information to see if maybe you are able to work, but in a different field of work that you've done in the past. Again, you don't have to have any evidence to start the process of an application, but if you don't have any medical records or they're insufficient, Social Security may send you to see a doctor to get a consultative exam. They won't diagnose you or treat you or give you any medication or anything, but they will certainly take an exam and report back to Social Security. Now, if your claim gets denied, you always have the right to file an appeal. You have 60 days to file an appeal, and there are 4 levels of appeals. So 60 days, that's it. So you can't wait a year and then decide to file an appeal. There are sometimes we can give people good cause reasons for filing late, but those are usually things like you were incarcerated and couldn't file a claim, or you had a mentally ill issue or something like that that prevented you from filing the appeal. So 60 days after the decision is made, your letter will tell you how to file the appeal when you get a denial notice in the mail. You file a reconsideration. If that's denied, you go to a hearing before an administrative law judge. If that's denied, you go to the Social Security's Appeal Council. And if that's denied, you can sue the Social Security Administration in the federal court system. So we've given you the link there on how to file an appeal. Again, all you have to do is go on our website and click on disability, or in the menu, you can look at filing an appeal and you will find all of that. Okay, to finish up everything, Theresa is going to talk about what happens if you're approved.
Yeah.
So I'm trying to talk as I change my status,
Yeah.
and I can't walk and talk and chew gum at the same time. So I
We're gonna bring it
apologize.
home here. We're gonna bring it home here, you guys. So here's the deal again. You're gonna remember we're screening for SSI and SSDI. Then you're gonna apply, like Kelly walked you through how you're gonna apply. Then you are going to go through the process of us determining disability or not a disability. And again, if it's denied, you're going to appeal. If it's approved, this is how we're going to determine benefit payment. Okay. And again, it's a different process with SSI versus SSD. For either one.
Sorry to interrupt you. Before you go on, you should tell them about that they don't have to have an attorney to file appeals.
Good point,
I neglected to talk about that.
Good point. Because a lot of parents will ask us that, and they'll say, do I need a lawyer? you can always get a lawyer. And by the way, you can always actually get a representative. You can have anybody represent you officially on your claim. Be it could be a family friend you trusted that you think understands Social Security information, or it could be an attorney. If it's an attorney that's going to charge you a fee, they have to go through paperwork where they abide by fee structures and our rules and all that kind of stuff. But please know, you do not have to have an attorney to make an appeal. Most people get attorneys when it goes to the second appeal. That's the law judge, just so you know. And not everybody's denied on the first round. I know that some of the Riverside staff that's on the line would agree with me. And sometimes people think everybody's denied. No, it's not true. About a third of our beneficiaries are approved on the first try going through this process. No appeals. 1/3. Okay. 2/3 are denied. But remember, there's 2/3 of our folks that are applying are of various ages and issues, and can work. So that's the whole crux of things when you get to be an adult. And some folks are applying for benefits for conditions that don't meet our criteria because they have to for various processes, etc. So just remember, you can always move forward with your appeal. Okay. You don't, and bring an attorney on later if you want. Okay. So with that said, let's think about getting approved. Okay, so if you're approved, normally that's the local office that's going to reach out to you, and you are going to get a snail mail letter or a phone call. Usually it's a phone call to update SSI, all right, and to kind of put things into motion. Now our local office is going to reach out, and that's where Kelly said it is normal. We will call you and say, hey, this is Theresa. I'm calling you from the Piqua Social Security office. We need to verify information because your son was approved for SSI. So we need to go over information. We call this a pre-effectuation review. We're reviewing all the information, and we're going to say, hey, by now, it's April, and we took your case back to October when you applied. So we've got to go back, and we're going to go over all the income information, etc. Now we're going to assume for adults age 18 plus that we're going to want to talk to that adult to go over this information. But if there is an allegation of developmental disability or cognitive impairment, that disability case is going to be flagged for a representative payee assessment. Okay, so this is where we're going to look at the case. Now, just because a person has a cognitive disability or a DD issue does not mean we're just going to say, oh, sure, go ahead, we have to have a payee. We take this very seriously that all adults should be paid directly. Okay, because as you know, that would be everybody's right as an adult. But again, if there is an allegation that the individual may not be able to handle direct payment in their best interests, then we're going to explore if a payee is needed. And a payee is like a trustee. Only one individual is named as a payee. The payee is the administrator of that person's benefits, right? So that payee is the person that is actually administering the benefits for that person's needs, making sure their bills are paid, etc. A family member or legal guardian is always preferred. An organization might be more suitable. Okay, maybe my son goes to live in a supportive housing, and that supportive housing organization says, hey, why don't we be the payee? Maybe that makes sense because I'm turning everything over to the payee anyways. And I'm like, yeah, okay, that makes sense. But just because your loved one, and think beyond our kids, okay? Think about your own parents as we have aging parents, etc. Just because my parent goes into assisted living doesn't mean that assisted living facility is payee. If my mom needs a payee because she has cognitive impairments, it would be preferred that me, her adult daughter, would be her payee over a facility. So just know, family is always first for us. Facilities may work, but they're second in our preferred tier of folks. Okay, and payees used to have to come into the office, but we're not there in person. So we're going to do all the payee stuff on the phone. Remember, things can change. So maybe you're payee for a couple of years and your son is doing great and he's really administering his funds for himself. Could he apply to be his own payee later? Yes, that is possible. Okay, so nothing's set in stone like that. Now, when we do this review for SSI, we're going to go back and verify income, resources, etc., all the way back to the application date. Remember, I just said if I applied back in October, we're going to go back and get all the information updated. So if it's for my son, if he's 18, we're going to go back and verify for him. If it's a child and under 18, then my parental income has to be verified back until then. And we're also going to verify living arrangements. Okay, we're going to have to go through everybody that's in the household, the names and the ages of everyone in the home. And we're going to go over information about rental liability with SSI. So we're going to say, is this this SSI recipient, this applicant, are they contributing money towards bills and expenses? And we're going to go all the way back month to month since the application date. We expect all adults age 18 and over who are receiving the federal SSI rate, remember that $7.94 rate, to be paying for their own household bills. That means food, shelter, and household utilities, okay? And this is very strange for us as parents. If you have an 18-year-old living in your home, they're always our kids, right? So it's weird, but it's like, no, our rules literally just change, cut and dry. When someone is 18, even if they're living and they're still in high school, even if they're still in your home, we're going to go into question saying, are you taking this money from your child's SSI and using it to pay for your rent, bills, and expenses? Because our laws say that if this applicant, if this SSI recipient is being subsidized, if you're not taking any money from that SSI towards bills, maybe household bills, I'm talking rent, water, gas, it's not the Wi-Fi, it's not your cell phone, think public utility type bills, and food. So if my son is not contributing anything to that, we would consider that son of mine to be subsidized. Somebody else is paying for all his bills, and his maximum SSI would be $549 a month. It's reduced by a third of the federal benefit rate. Okay, so that is very normal because a lot of times our kids are not able to pay that. And it may be the right thing. Parents will say, okay, my child is getting $549 because I haven't been charging him anything for bills and expenses. But you know what? I'm using all that money from SSI now. He's 18 and he takes long showers and he uses all the water and he's eating us out of house and home, right? So there's like, I'm using all of it towards the bills and expenses in this household where this adult body is living. Then you need to let us know. We say, parents, if you are using that SSI towards bills, expenses, etc., you need to let us know because we can redetermine that amount. And when we say that a person should be contributing to the household, we split those bills. Okay, so imagine splitting rent or mortgage and basically water, trash, gas, electric by however many people there are in the house. And the same with food. And that is what we would expect that child of yours to contribute to the household. Or they could be renting a room. You know, we say they could rent, you charge them $400 to rent a room from you. But, you know, parents will say, what is the right or wrong answer? There is no right or wrong answer. You have to tell us the truth. And you have to kind of think it through because Kelly and I have talked to a lot of parents over the years who've said, you know what, my child, the $549, I don't have to worry about using any of it towards bills and expenses because I am covering everything. So it's more money for him. I'm not taking anything towards bills or expenses. So the $549 all goes towards his needs. He's saving for things. I'm putting it in his stable accounts because he's saving for a new computer and different things. Okay. But you have to also be real and honest with us that if you're using that $549 truly to pay for your own bills and expenses, or you want your child to be understanding they owe you rent, they're an adult now, and you're going to be charging them money, then you need to tell us because that amount may increase to $794 a month to that federal benefit rate. So again, it's with SSI, we go month by month and we look at countable income when we are determining that SSI amount. So it's a maximum of $794. But remember, again, it could be $549 if the person isn't paying for bills or expenses. And if there's other income such as SSD or work, we deduct that from the $794. So we don't necessarily count it dollar for dollar. For example, if you're working, we count basically about half of your wages, right? But we have to know about your income to determine your SSI payment then, all right? So we check in with you through a redetermination process. Every 6 to 12 months, a local Social Security representative is going to reach out and going to go through information with the individual or the payee. And we're going to go over, are they paying you rent or not? Are you under resource limit? All right, you know, have you had any changes? Material SSI changes really should be reported though right away. You don't want to wait a year and be overpaid. So if a person if they move, if your child gets married, you marry someone, you're a household unit, that spouse's income is part of the SSI mix. We have to know about it. All right. If they win the lottery and things like that, you've got to let us know. And if you're a parent with a minor child, again, if you get married, your spousal income, it changes, you have to report to us. And so we report month to month, right? Parental income has to be reported through 18. And then after age 18, again, if you're the payee, you have to report material changes and moves to us, or if a person starts working. Okay, SSD, totally different. SSD, remember the amount is based on your work before your disability. And there's a 5-month wait after you're approved for benefits, and then the SSD starts. So you can get SSI in those 5 months that you're waiting, okay? And then the SSD kicks in. The only folks that don't have a 5-month wait are people with ALS. Those folks don't have the 5-month wait. They're the only ones right now. And then if there's dependents in the mix, we'll pay dependent benefits. And automatically you roll into Medicare, all right, after the 2 years. But here's the last point. Can you get both, right? If my child gets approved for both SSI and SSD, can you get both? All right, SSI is the need-based arm, right? It supplements up to that federal benefit rate. $794. Remember, that's the maximum amount. But we have this crazy $20 disregard rule. Remember, Kelly and I don't make the rules. We explain them, all right? So we take $20 disregard. So if you add that on, SSI supplements up to $814 a month, okay? So you can get both potentially, right? Up to that level. SSI will pay on the first and SSD would pay on the third. But here's an example, like my nephew, Ryan, he was born with cognitive impairments. He's worked for the Cuyahoga Board of DV for many, many years, and he has SSD from his own work history, okay? So he gets $600 a month in SSD. Will he get SSI? Okay, $600 a month. SSI supplements up to that 814 level in 2021. So Ryan will get $600 in SSD plus $214 in SSI for a total of $814. So if Ryan was getting $700 in SSD, SSI will be $114, right? It supplements it. What if Ryan's SSD goes over $814? Because this is a true story. Ryan was getting on his own SSD, but his mother retired, right? And guess what? He's going to get $1,100 a month off of his mother's retirement, her Social Security. Is he going to get any SSI then, you guys? No, it's going to pop above the 814. So SSI would stop. Now, remember, when you're drawing on a parent's record, like Ryan, that's a disabled adult child record, that's a form of SSD. Okay, it's a form of SSD. So he's going to keep on that record, but the SSI will not be in the mix anymore. Okay. And his SSD would still be paid on the third. And remember, payments are made to banks or credit unions. Old-fashioned checks are not in the mix anymore. If a person doesn't want a bank, they'll have a direct express debit card that we reload every month electronically. Last thing to keep in mind, parents and professionals, everybody's reviewed medically at some point, whether they're on SSI or SSDI, okay? These are called medical reviews. And parents get medical packets sometimes in the mail. It could take 3 years. It could take 10 years. It depends on what the disability is. For a lot of kids with permanent cognitive impairments, you might not see a disability review for 7 to 10 years, but it comes for everybody, all right? And you get a packet in the mail saying, hey, we need to review this, and it can cause panic, like a coronary attack, right? When you see it, relax, exhale. I want you to hear my voice saying, it's normal, okay? It's normal. All you need to do is fill it out. People think, oh, they're going to stop my benefits. We're going to stop your benefits if you don't fill it out. That's usually why we stop benefits. You need to complete the information. You can complete it online. Now we give you instructions in the packet on how to upload information and updates online, or you can fill out forms and send it back. Okay, so just know it's normal, and these reviews are part of the process. If you ignore it and throw it in a drawer, that's a problem. Because then we're going to temporarily stop benefits, and we're like, hey, we've got to update this record. And if we don't know what's going on, we're going to stop benefits. Okay. So another thing, again, consider for your younger clients, Riverside staff, and for the youth parents, you guys have great resources around you with benefits specialists, benefits planners. Kids are going to work. Most of our kids nowadays are going to do some work. And we're trying to remove that stigma that work is going to totally stop your benefits, because it doesn't. All right. Could benefits stop eventually with disability if a person works? Yes, but you have a lot of opportunities to test the waters and work part-time, maybe for a very long time, and maintain SSI and SSDI. So we're not going to go into all that today, but just remember that that's not true that you cannot work at all. You can. You have to report work to us at Social Security. We have to keep on top of it, but it is very possible for people with SSI and SSDI to do some work. So our best resource is the Red Book that's found on our Social Security website. It really kind of walks you through our different types of work incentives, our work rules that help people keep benefits and work. Okay. And again, hopefully you're going to sign up and so you do your Social Security account. We've convinced you to do that, get your own estimates, look at that stuff online, right? And you're going to bookmark all the information that we talked about today. And remember that, again, your slides, if you want hard copies, Melissa and the Riverside group can get those to you also. So whoo, that way we were smoking, we're throwing a lot of stuff at you guys
Got a
today.
lot of information in there.
Okay, we're a pretty small group here this evening, so we can kind of do a couple things. You can totally do chat if you want to, and I think we're a small group. You can also just unmute and throw questions at us also. If that's okay. I mean,
there's no questions
go
in
ahead and
chat, so
okay.
If you want to write something in there, go ahead. We're watching it. Otherwise, yeah, like Theresa said, unmute yourself and ask us a question. Or not, and we all just sit awkwardly.
And we all go eat some dinner.
I have a question.
Sure.
Hi, so I'm an SSA with Riverside, and I don't quite know how to phrase this question, but I'm working through a situation with an individual on my caseload where they work 40 hours a week, and they made some additional monies during COVID because there were some bonuses that were given, and we got a notice of action from Job and Family Services that their patient liability was going to be increased to like $391, something like this. So we went the route of, we've appealed that action. Hopefully the appeal will go through swimmingly and everything will be fine. But the other route we're taking is we are trying to get Job and Family Services to go through their process where they determine whether or not an individual has a qualifying disability. I called Social Security's on this. Social Security, I'm going to misspeak, so I won't say what they said. But basically, this individual has not ever collected Social Security, but appears to be able to work 40 hours a week, self-reliant, so on and so forth. But really, she's unable to keep that job if she doesn't have the transportation supports and the job coaching supports. And so I'm in a situation where if the appeal fails and if the JFS decides that she does not have a qualifying disability, then she's going to be stuck with this patient liability where she might decide that it's just not worth working anymore. So that's the scenario.
Well, Theresa will probably talk on this one, but this is Kelly. There are what we call work incentives or employment supports at Social Security. Now, this is if she's getting benefits from Social Security. So those things that you talked about where she stops work every so often because she's not able to keep the job, or she has a job coach, those are all things that we look at called work incentives, which is what Theresa kind of alluded to in her very last slide with the red book. So that red book goes into all the information about working and getting disability benefits. JFS is trying to determine her disabled, not so that she can get Social Security, but so that they can keep her on whatever programs they have her on, I guess as a disabled individual instead. And that's something totally separate from us. Whether or not she makes too much money to be qualifying for Social Security disability insurance would be our issue. And that's where we talk about that SSDI program, where if she's making more than $1,310 a month in gross earnings, she may or may not be eligible. Now, from that $1,310 a month, we can look at those work incentives and maybe subtract quite a bit of that income that she actually makes and not call it countable. And what that means is then we don't include all of it when we're looking at comparing it to that substantial gainful activity amount. So let's say that she's getting a subsidized income. She, like you said, she can't work without the transportation support that she gets. And if she has to pay for that out of her pocket, then that's something that we could subtract from her countable income. Or same with if she's getting employment supports at work, where her employer would tell us that she is not really working up to the full 100% capacity of the position she has, then depending upon how much the employer feels that she is working, we may be able to reduce a percentage off of her gross monthly income because of that. And all of those things come into play when we are looking at whether somebody is working and earning that substantial gainful activity amount or not. Teresa, I'm going to let you take over
I think
there.
we can talk more with Andrew offline on this one too.
Yeah.
But I do think it's important to say that normally, I just say, in the vast amount of cases you guys are going to see as families and as professionals, right? The vast amount of cases you're going to see, JFS will defer to us in making a disability determination. You know what I'm saying? They're going to look to our records. They have a data share with us. That's going to be what they use to determine disability. This could be just one of those kind of really crazy kind of outlier cases where somehow she's never really gotten disability from us, but they need a disability determination in a different way. So they may have a different process still in that. And usually I thought that was a process where they may be able to send for a medical determination, but I mean, but on our end, if she doesn't meet our definition of disability, there's a lot of people with terrible conditions, but if they're working full time, they're not disabled. You know what I mean? So they won't get a benefit from us. So we can talk more about that one online, but it is a fascinating one in terms of, you know, because you're like, well, but like Kelsey, we don't want to like write her off to like not getting a benefit from us, because if she has a lot of support, we may be able to do something. So more on that one offline. Yeah.
Send us an email.
Well,
and we'll have
talk
to look
more
into things.
We'll talk more. And
thank you.
Okay. And then talking about the health insurance issue kind of flows into a chat question, I think. Because there was a chat question about, you know, what about getting medical care? My insurance is not covering, you know, developmental needs, pediatrician, etc. So unfortunately, with our as Social Security world, insurance is not our bag. So what is our bag is trying to see if your child qualifies in any way for SSI or for SSD. So if it's a child under 18, they don't have work, they're not going to get any SSD in terms of like benefits on disability because they haven't worked, but they're going to potentially get an SSI benefit. But remember, you have to meet the income criteria. Now, if you meet that income criteria, you are going to receive Medicaid. Miami County is going to, you know, not even have to make a determination. It's just going to shoot out a Medicaid eligibility to Miami County. If you're, you know, in the PICO servicing area there in Miami County, they're going to know that that's your child's on SSI and they have full wraparound Medicaid coverage. I mean, that would supplement, you could keep, even if you were working, it would wrap around that, etc. But in terms of being able to help you with those other bills, that's where we would rely on leaning on you to talk to, you know, Bureau of Children with Medical Handicaps and your professionals you guys have at Riverside to try to help you with thoughts on that one.
Any other questions?
Go ahead, Andrew.
What level would someone's need, so when it comes to like requiring an individual to have a payee, right? So at what point in time or need or necessity would Social Security make that call?
Well, first of all, we're going to only review it. We're only going to make a call of a payee if, number one, there's an allegation of mental incompetency or cognitive impairment. I mean, that's number one. So a person, we have plenty of folks that get disability in retirement their whole lives and they never have a payee and we never ask about it, right? Even though they may not, we all have issues with bills at times, you know, no judgy there for all of us, right? I'm just saying from our perspective, the only way we're going to put a payee into place is if we have that allegation. So when a cognitive impairment comes back on a disability condition, yeah, that's going to be looked at on our end. Now, does it have to have a very specific IQ level or something like that? No, we leave it super gray.
Yeah, it's pretty subjective.
And we tell our professionals like you guys, and we tell families and we tell social workers, etc. We ask for a medical professional, also the medical advice that's in the file when the person first files for disability is guiding us in terms of making the determination. Okay. But sometimes payee situations come up where it may happen later on where the 18-year-old was approved and we've been paying the 18-year-old, and then that years later it comes up that that person is on the streets, is not able to handle their benefits, and we need to pay. Okay. Well, even that a person is homeless, we have to have an allegation of mental incapacity, et cetera. And so we look to a professional source. Usually it's a doc, a psychologist, something. Even if that doctor says, no, we think they're incapable. Nope, nope, nope. We're going to talk to the individual. We're going to talk to you guys or people that might know them as, and talk about their daily activities. I mean, again, I go back to just thinking beyond our younger people, we definitely see people who are older and, people might, say that this person's not, they go into assisted living and assisted living says they're incapable. We're like, that's not true. We talk to the family, we talk to that individual. They know where they're at. They know what's going on. They're just now mobility impaired, etc. So it is subjective, Andrew, and the person can say, I disagree with that, get their own medical source, etc. Normally for us, it's a situation where we truly feel they are not able to understand our rules, to understand what we need them to report to us with SSI, and that they cannot handle the needs in their best interest. Mainly that is shelter for them, that they cannot pay bills and keep shelter. But I'm just saying, we make a decision. The local office, lay people, we make that determination based on various, inputs, but it's not honestly a doc or you guys or whatever. And so we tell people that in kind of a freeing way. You can tell us and give your 2 cents and say to an individual sincerely, Social Security, I can put my input, but they've got another file there and they're talking to other people and they're going to make their determination.
Thank you.
Thanks. Well, I think we're ready to wrap up, you guys. We made it in. My Riverside folks, you know me too well. You're probably like, she'll never make it in 90 minutes, but we did.
Well, I'd like to thank both Theresa and Kelly for joining us tonight. We really appreciate the wealth of information that you presented. And I know that it's going to be very beneficial, not only to the folks who joined us tonight, but for those who watch this video back. So thank you very much again for your time.
Well, thank you guys for all you do for our Miami County community. You're awesome.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you again. This will be posted on our YouTube channel, shared on our Facebook page, and on our website very soon. If you know of anybody who'd like this recording, just let us know and we can also send the link to them. Thanks very much. Bye-bye.
Bye, everybody.